What is going on, everybody? Hitmonchan here, back again with another Pokemon trading card game video. Today we're taking a look at Miraidon EX, but not in a way that's typical for my channel. We're doing an IRL deck profile video today. I actually went 4-0 with this exact deck list very recently at my local tournament, and I wanted to show it off with the actual physical cards that I use. This is my deck right here, and I'm very excited to film this kind of video, and I'm going to go over the cards, why I have made certain choices in that, and just talk about the matchups in general. So I think this is going to be a really cool video, and I really hope you guys enjoy it. So I can't wait for, us to just kind of get right into it. But before I do, I want to say like the video if you enjoyed it. Comment down below, what do you think of Miraidon? What do you think of the video? What do you think of this list in particular? I do read all my comments, so I would really love to know. And subscribe to the channel. I'm posting multiple Pokemon trading card game videos every single week. I'm trying to get to 10K by the end of the year, and that would really mean the world to me if you subscribe. So I just wanted to let you guys know. Just want to give a quick thank you to the sponsor of the channel, PTCGL Store. If you need codes, you know where to go. Head over to PTCGOstore.com and use code HITMON to get 5% off your order. You get a good product for a good price, and you help out the channel as well. So thanks to the sponsor for supporting me, and thanks to you for supporting me too. And now, we'll get right back into the video. And I would really appreciate it. So now, we're going to just go right into the list. First off, Miraidon. Two of them in this list. I used to be playing a 3 Miraidon, and I've seen a lot of the lists, like the Peony build, go down to 2, and I wanted to give it a try, and it actually worked out. I mean, prizing it isn't usually a huge issue, because with this list, you're only trying to get one down most of the time. For other double copies of cards, we have 2 Raichu V. The double Raichu is in big response to something, like Charizard getting popularity, Mew doing really well, in kind of like a more rogue sense where it's not getting the top places, but it is actually performing very solid in, top 16, top 32, that kind of thing. And because of that, we're playing the double Raichu and only one Raikou. I think this change is one that's been needing to be made for a long time now because, Raikou just isn't as good anymore. You don't have the need for it most of the time. Most of the time you're trying to get turn 1 hands or turn 1 Miraidon in particular. Big basics are having 30 HP, 230 HP, and that extra 10 is really hard for Raikou to get to. Very easy for Miraidon to get to. But Raikou's still really good. Fleet-footed is incredible for this deck to have access to. And just all around, still a good card. You can put 4 Steel Stone on it. So we do have the 1 Raikou. Good cheap attacker, and Iron Hands is not a cheap attacker, but it is one of the best attackers in the deck. I'm sure you know all what this card does right now. This is incredible into Gardevoir and pretty good into Charizard as well. And yeah, Iron Hands is just really, really strong. This is a Path Miraidon build, but it is focused very turbo. Like, you do go really fast with it, so being able to get the Iron Hands turn 1 isn't very difficult, I will say. So the Iron Hands is going to go right there. And the other big card in this deck, the other major attacker, is Tapu Koko EX. Vengeful Shock is really, really strong. This card went under the radar a lot, but I do think is going to pick up steam at upcoming regionals, because if any of your Pokemon were knocked out by damage from an attack from your opponent last turn, this attack does 90 more damage, and your opponent's active Pokemon is paralyzed. So paralysis is really good. A lot of people aren't teching switching cards, especially against Charizard, especially against a deck like Rapid Strike, which literally would only play 1 rope, if any. This card can solve that matchup. It helps against Mew a lot. However, they do play quite a few more switches, I think 3 to 4. If they burn through 2 in their opening turns, there's still a chance they can easily find one. But if you combine this with Judge Path, you might be okay. So Tapu Koko is another really cool card in this list. We do rock the 2 Mareep line as well as the 2/2 Flaffy. I do have the funny little trainer gallery ones, which makes me happy. But yeah, this is kind of the core of this deck, and I did find playing the Turbo Peony Miraidon, I did test it out, and it just didn't work as well. Like, it just was not working in a way that I would have liked it to. You need the double Flaffy for consistency, because you can get multiple out in a game with it, as long as you don't research them all the way. So the double Flaffy line, I think, is really, really important for this deck. We're just going to go and throw these guys over here. And I think once Flaffy goes, the deck is going to have a little bit of a tougher time because it is so crucial. Now, I want to talk about some of the support Pokemon. Other than Flaffy, we have Squawkabilly EX, very good staple card in Miraidon. Only on your first turn, but you can discard your entire hand and draw 6 new cards. Squawkabilly has the potential to make any terrible hand of like 6 Lightning Energy very, very good in the future. So Squawkabilly is a no-brainer. You should definitely be including 1 or maybe even 2 copies in your Miraidon list, but I've only got one. Now, this is where my list is kind of different than a lot of them right now. I still play the Zeraora, and there's a couple of reasons for this. One, I think that Zeraora is a really, really good attacker in general. And a lot of people will say, well, what do you mean? So my first reasoning is Battle Claw is really, really good into Guardy because you do 60 damage for a single lightning energy on a single prize Pokemon that has free retreat. That's insanely solid to do into Gardevoir, because if they're playing a little carelessly, if they don't know you have the Zeraora, Battle Claw is really, really good. And I also like to have a pivot off of the Tandem Unit, so you can use Tandem Unit, put Zeraora into play. If your opponent knocks something out, you leave with the Zeraora that you got off Tandem Unit. No need to find any of our other pivot cards, or switching cards or whatever. So Zeraora is really good. Solid attacker into Giratina and V-Star as well, because Battle Claw will do 60 damage, priming you to take a knockout on Tina with Miraidon EX. So I think Zeraora is very good overall and very underrated right now in this current meta. So that is Zeraora, and this is another major support Pokemon that I'm not gonna lie, I was a hater on for a long time until I saw the vision. Zapdos EX is like a necessity in this deck. Miraidon EX, like enabling Miraidon to hit 230 damage with Photon Blaster is really, really good. And I did a funny play when I was playing this Zapdos in the tournament I was talking about. I was up against one of my friends, Dan, but not Daniel from this channel. And basically what happened was I had a very terrible hand and I had to swing into him, his Raikou V with Iron Hands EX for 160 damage with Arm Press. And then what I ended up doing once I got back into the game was I put down Zeraora and Zapdos, and I used Battle Claw for 40 damage on that Raikou, knocking it out, leaving a single price Pokemon in the active. So the power of Zapdos is really good, has a lot of synergy with every card in this deck pretty much. It is super, super strong, and I think it's absolutely worth considering. So that is Zapdos. And now one of the last, I think it is the last support Pokemon of the deck, is Mew EX. I absolutely love this art. I was able to pick these up for pretty cheap. I have a couple of them, and I'm just chucking them into all my decks that need them. But this art, I think, is absolutely stunning. Restart is incredibly good, and I think this is actually what helps Miraidon play at a bit of a higher level, because you can't just get like Iono to 1 out of the game. You actually have a little bit of a chance to come back. Combine this with Fleet Foot, you're drawing basically 3 to 4 extra cards every turn. And yeah, Mew EX is really, really solid. And Genome Hacking is really good too. We play another tech card in this deck that lets you use Genome Hacking really, really early in the game, and you can use it effectively against Charizard. You can use it effectively against Giratina. You can use it effectively against Rapid Strike. There's a lot of reasons to play Mew EX and Genome Hacking here. So I think that this is a really good card, absolute staple of any Miraidon list. So we're gonna throw them right down there. Now we're gonna get into the supporter cards. We are playing 4 Professors Research here. I think the Quad Research is a kind of no-brainer as well. I think this is the standard way that you would play Miraidon. Just for Research, discard, draw 7 is never going to not be good. Those guys can go right up over there. And for our next supporter, we are rocking the 3 bosses orders. Again, triple boss is really important. I do find sometimes you like low-key want a counter catcher in this deck, just because you want to like Judge Path counter catch or something. But the boss is the way to go. Just being able to gust anything at any point. You have 3 of them, so they're fairly easy to find, and you also have that 4 Sealstone Search. So yeah, I appreciate bosses orders. For our other supporters, we got 2 Judge in here, as well as 2 Iono. I'm going to talk about them all in the same one. I think it's really important to have a split right now, because Judge is extremely good in the early game, whereas Iono is pretty bad for, resetting your opponent's hand. But in the late game, Judge is pretty bad, and Iono is extremely good. So having a flat 2-2 split, equal chances to find them, is I think really, really solid. And yeah, it's done me good. Judge Path, Iono Path has been a very good strategy for this deck to have. So we'll throw those guys right there. And for our ball search, we have a single copy of Nest Ball, and we have 4 Ultra Balls. Again, I think this is standard Miraidon stuff, unless you're playing the P&E version with VIPs, but I am a fan of this lineup. I always have been, and I think I always will be. Just a really solid way to find your Pokemon when you need them. Before we get into the rest, let's just do a little bit of organization here. The Ultra Ball, and then we'll throw our Nest Ball right there for now. Yeah, we have the other bread and butter part of this deck, an Electric Generator. Obviously, anyone who's heard of Miraidon has likely heard it in the same sentence as Electric Generator. It is, you know, it's a love-hate card. It's a give and take kind of thing. You really got to live and die by it. I've had games where I hit 2 off of every one, and then I've had games where I hit 0 off of all 4 generators as well. So having these, of course, you need it in Miraidon, but I think the card is very good. Obviously, I mean, if I'm talking about this deck, but it has the potential to really swing games, early game, late game, whenever. Just an insanely good card all around. Now for our switching outs, I have another little bit of a thing to say. I only play 1 rope and 1 switch in here, and I'm going to tell you why. You know, it's a little spoiler alert, there are beach courts in here, because you know, this is basically, we have 2 outs to get Flaffy out of the active, as well as our double turbo, which I will talk about in a little bit, to retreat Flaffy with 1 attachment, and then escape rope and switch, 1 and 1, pretty simple, keeping it simple. And the reason that I only play them is because I cut one of the other switching cards for a Lost Vacuum. Now, I think Lost Vacuum is almost, again, another necessity in Miraidon right now. I think that this is a very important card against decks like Roaring Moon, against decks that play damage mods like, you know, Mew VMAX is very good against. Good against any deck that wants to set down its Sealstone, because then you can Vacuum Judge Path them, and if you're able to do that, you can, you know, really disrupt them out of the game, because a lot of Miraidons aren't going to be playing Vacuum right now. And it's another out to Path to the Peak, which I think is really good. What you can do is, if you're insanely lucky with your draws, you can vacuum away your own Path to the Peak, play a bunch of cards, judge, and then play another Path to the Peak back down. I think that, you know, having that as an option, just Lost Vacuum, getting rid of Bravery Charms in decks, specifically against Miraidon and Roaring Moon, I think Vacuum is really, really good. So we'll throw these cards over here, some more of the one-ofs in this bottom corner. And for the rest of the deck, we have some tools here. We're starting off with 2 EXP share. This is, you know, kind of the giveaway that this list is based off of Moffat's list, but I think that 2 EXP is really, really good. This is the card that lets Mew EX attack a lot earlier, because you throw it on Mew EX and it continuously builds up energy. It's also really good for when you're swinging with Miraidon and hands turn 1. If you can get 1 or 2 of these down, you can conserve a lot of your energies, and I think that, you know, having these EXP shares around is really, really important in allowing Raichu to attack multiple times in a game. So the double EXP share is something that I felt like, you know, it feels really good in the deck. And for the rest of our tools, we are rocking the 1 Bravery Charm ourselves and the 1 Forest Seal Stone. Again, Moffat's list has double Forest Seal Stone, but I actually find that Bravery Charm is very necessary, because just being able to deny your opponent's big basics from taking a KO on you, or forcing something like Roaring Moon to use Frenzied Gouging, and then you can actually return KO it with Zero Aura, Battle Claw, or, you know, with Zapdos, that kind of thing, is, I think, really, really strong. And yeah, I just love Bravery Charm. Force Seal Stone, obvious, get any card you want, very, very good. And 1 only makes sense because we literally just have 3 Pokemon V in this deck. That's kind of a number where they're relevant enough for you to want to play it, but they're not like so persistent and pertinent that you want to have 2 Force Seals. So we're gonna put those guys right there. I know my lighting is a little bit funky right now, just off of these sleeves. Hopefully that fixes it a little bit. I'm almost through the entire deck here. Stadium wise, I have a double path, double beach court split. Again, this is another reason why I only played the 2 switching outs, because beach court, I find, is gonna basically be retreating all of your guys. You don't really have anything to worry about in that regard. The only thing is getting Flaffy stuck, and no deck will really aim to stick Flaffy right now, which I think is really important. The only ones that might try and do it are Rapid Strike and Gardevoir with Scream Tail. Those are the only ones that'll try and stick a Flaffy, even Chen Pao if you run into it, but I think that if you're able to get a turn 1 hands against their Frigibacks, or so on and so forth. They have so many little guys in that deck that Iron Hands can clean up if they want to do with the hands. So yeah, really no need to worry that much about Flaffy getting stuck. And even if it does, you can just chuck an energy onto it, because, you know, at that point in the game where they're going to try and stick a Flaffy if they have nothing going on, you're going to be able to retreat it very easily. So yeah, and then the 2 path, again, another key part of the deck. Sometimes you want 3 path in here, but I think double beach court, double path is the way to go for now. You need to bump path because Tina's popular, because Mew is decently popular, and yeah, bumping path against opposing Miraidon is also really, really good. Energy wise, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 lightning energy and a double turbo. I think that this is, again, kind of a standard energy spread out to have when you're playing as Miraidon, and the double turbo is to help get hands going quicker. I think that it's very important, you know, you got to hit those generators, right? And hitting those generators requires you to have a lot of energy. So that's why we play a lot of energy here. Yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about the list itself. Notable cuts that I made are Spiritomb. I think Spiritomb is really good against Mew, and if you're suspecting you're going to play against a lot of Mew, then, you know, add back your Spiritomb. I'm gonna put a nicer list picture on the screen right now because I know my lighting's a little bit messed up. But basically, yeah, if you know your opponent's gonna be playing Mew, play the Spiritomb. Well, if you have a suspicion that you're gonna be playing against Mew, I should say. And yeah, that's another card that's also really good against Zard. So you could put that in as well for something else, depending on what you think you're gonna be up against. And yeah, I'll go over my matchups really quick for the tournament that this deck won. Basically, I ended up going 4-0, as I said. My round 1 was against Tuan, who has made a couple appearances on the channel before in our tabletop series. Very, very good player, and he was also playing Miraidon as well. And it was a really close game. He went second and took the first knockout, which was a little bit tragic for me, but I was able to pull it back because we kind of forced each other into a draw pass scenario to whoever could find boss first. He already played 2 bosses and I didn't play a single one, so I ended up finding my boss first. Then I could go for a single prize that I had stuck in the active retreat, boss KO on his bench, and that is how that game went. Game 2, I already told you about, but I didn't tell you about my opening hand, which was an Iron Hands, a Bravery Charm, 4 energy, and an Ultra Ball, I think, right? That was my opening hand, and that was a pretty tough, because I was going to be like, okay, I'll Ultra Ball for Squawk, and my opponent was also playing Miraidon. As I said, it was a mirror match, and I got Path turn 1, so my strategy was to throw Bravery Charm on the Iron Hands and manually attach to it for 3 turns. That was my strategy, until I was able to find a Path bump in which I bumped the Path, and I played out on all the cards in my hand, used Ultra Ball, grab Mew EX, and then I restart into a research, and that was how I was able to get back into the game. Again, I had not seen any draw supporter for like a couple of turns, like a good 2 to 3 turns, so the chances of me hitting one were decently high, and if I just got a Miraidon there, I would have been done anyways, because, you know, you get a Miraidon and I get my board set up, but I would have had a 0-card hand, and I would have just lost because I had no more energy in play. That Iron Hands was getting knocked out that next turn. So that match was that. The next matchup I had was against Gardevoir, another good friend of mine, Calvin. He is a very good player, and, you know, it was a pretty close game, but Gardevoir is suddenly a favored matchup for Miraidon thanks to Iron Hands, and I think that the Iron Hands really puts in the work, especially having the Zera Aura. I don't even think I had to play it that game, but having the threat of it was good. Tapu Koko was really solid as well in that matchup because you can boss stick their Guardian EX, and then, you know, you Tapu Koko it, and then you go up with Miraidon next turn, and if they don't play any switching outs or they've discarded them early, there's nothing that they can do, because a lot of Guardian lists are like sometimes playing Turo now, like it's not at all the most common card. So I think that, you know, Stall's on a decline. Snorlax Stall could be really good to try and benefit from that strategy against a Gardevoir deck. And then my final matchup was against Chien-Pao, C-Pao, as everybody likes to call it, and it was against Luigi, who's made a bunch of appearances on this channel as well. He was doing really well with the deck up until the finals match, and then he kind of bricked, and yeah, he was only able to get 1 Frigibax out, and I got like pretty lucky. I had boss, so I boss KO'd it. He got another Frigibax out. I had boss retreat Iron Hands KO, and it was kind of just downward from there, and we just got to a point where it was like he needed to take an insane amount of prizes, and I just needed to take 2 more. It was either he KO'd my active Iron Hands, and then I, hope they didn't have energy, or he like bossed something up, crossfit or something up, raiding Greninja, a damaged Pokemon, and my Flaffy, and hoping to have energy, but then I could just Iron Hands as Greninja. So it was like a really bad spot for him once you get that Baxcalibur established and online. And that is my little tournament report. I'm hoping in the future to do this as more of a vlog style series, especially these kinds of videos. I want to put up my webcam, or a webcam, because my webcam is actually my phone that I use to record all the videos. So I would like to get a second camera, put that up, and then do a little bit of a tournament vlog style video, kind of like my good pal Sneaker Talk TCG does. But that's besides the point. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching. Like the video if you enjoyed. Again, the list is on the screen right now. And comment down below, what do you think of my Miraidon list? What do you like? What do you dislike? What would you keep? What would you change about it? I think the list is very, very fun, and I've been very much so enjoying it. over, you know, the past one tournament I played it to. It did really well. Even though I bricked the game, I was actually able to successfully pull it back. And I think that with a little bit of luck on your side, Miraidon can beat any matchup right now. Insanely good pick for Charlotte, which is happening at the time of recording, and just a really good deck overall. So again, thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, Hitmonchanning out.